Everyone has a life story to tell, but an incredible life story is shared and told differently.
Welcome to yet another edition of Incredible Life Stories with Simon Kasyate. And like I always tell you, incredible life stories just leave you not the same. And each one of them is different. Like they say, there's no two stories that are the same. And tonight on the program, I have an incredible gentleman. When I asked him how he would prefer me to describe him, he said, just call me the ordinary Joe. But I want to believe he's more than just the ordinary guy around the corner. He's done it all in our trade of journalism. And yet, from his admission, it's something he stumbled on by accident. He is, without a doubt, a familiar name and face to those that are older than the Gen Zs. The Gen Zs can only read about him as part of the country's folklore. Welcome to the program, Mr. Timothy Bukumunhe, or popularly known as TB.
Thank you, Simon.
TB, how would you prefer to be referred to on the program? Timothy Bukumunhe, Timothy, TB?
You can alternate between either of them. They both work for me.
Well, you have done it all in journalism. You have written incredible stories. You have featured and had columns. You revolutionized a breed or a genre of journalism that eventually got bastardized into what we call gutter press or yellow journalism by starting the first gossip column in a mainstream newspaper in Uganda. Have you heard? Do you feel any sense of guilt for having started that kind of downward spiral for our otherwise treasured profession?
My low moment, my worst moment in my life.
You're kidding me.
Seriously. Because people's lives were ruined. Not per se by Have You Heard, because in Have You Heard, we kind of, story came in, we'd look at it, and then look at the person's profile, what kind of job he's doing, marital status. So we'd say, let's leave it. But then when it came to the other side, they just spoiled the whole thing, and it was my fault. So for all those people out there whose lives got ruined by that newspaper, I apologize.
Well, Timothy, you're being too modesty and very quick to apologize, but we'll take you block by block, because without a doubt, some, even with all the due consideration of profile status, that includes work and marital status, whose stories featured in Have You Heard, which was a fixture for our weekend read. Everyone looked forward to the Saturday newspaper because they need to see who was in the gossip pages. There must have been, of course, a few careers that were broken, a few marriages that were broken, a few personalities who went just off the radar simply because you had said one or two things that may or may not have been true, but certainly were not palatable for the public. Do you get some of those meeting you now in your twilight and saying, look at him, look at you, shame, you destroyed my life?
Of course I do. I have about, at least on my last count, about 400 and something lawsuits pending.
What?
Yeah.
And you can walk freely, and I'm glad I have you here on the program.
I think the statutes of limitations have now run out, but at the time I left New Vision, there were about 400 or something lawsuits which were pending. Yes, some people I do meet. Some of them we're friends, not bosom buddies, but we can talk.
You know each other, yeah.
That's mostly with the men. With the ladies, it's acid to be thrown at me. However much I may say I'm sorry, there's no forgiving.
So how do you move around with a helmet on your head, shield, tear gas mask? How do you live your life now?
Time has gone on. People have forgiven, they've forgotten. When other papers came out with their gossip, mine seemed, with the worst.
Yeah, when other papers came in, just spared yours and became kids play.
I was like a nice boy. Yeah, Tim's thing is...
At least Have You Heard?
Yeah. But I think we strove very hard to do with Have You Heard and the New Vision is that we did research our stories. We are not, you just hear a story, go and print it. We had to make sure that...
We thought it was literally what it was. Have you heard?
Yes.
And then
yes. Then because of dynamics and politics and whatever, and the people who are being featured, we want to make sure that it is absolutely cast in stone.
But also, as an offshoot for that, we got into society journalism, where now newspapers, hard-nosed as the New Vision was known to be, then started giving space to, fun, entertainment, and easy to read genres of stories that then got a young student in school, like I was at the time when you started, and old serious executives enjoying the newspaper beyond the seriousness of black and white pictures that were just guys in suits.
Very true. Very true, because there's a time when to be in a newspaper, you had to be a CEO.
Or a minister.
A bank manager, or a minister.
A politician.
The society part of it was not
to be
there.
dead in a grisly accident.
Yes. It changed when MTN came to Uganda. MTN brought in this new social thing that even a junior person can be some high suave corporate type chap. So the society part of the newspaper began to grow and grow and grow. There was money to be made from advertising and whatever. So that part of it grew and began to maybe kind of overtake politics, the company stuff, because people would buy the papers, not really about did this company make its annual profits. No, they wanted to see which party was there, who was at the party, what were they wearing, that kind of stuff. So the society aspect of the newspapers actually did begin to grow.
Wow. But that also meant that beyond just growing the society part of the newspapers, you also increased the revenue for the publishing houses, in the sense that there was advertisement coming in. But as you pack that on the side, you as journalists, breaking the barrier of away from what we were always told is hard-nosed news. What was your relationship between guys like you in the newsroom and the hard-nosed guys that always went out to cover the politics, the promulgation of the Constitution, the possibly fires and accidents? Did you also find them a little bit unwelcoming of your what would have been seen as novel ideas?
In the newsroom, yes, you had those guys who covered politics.
Mm-hmm.
And every day I would see them going out to go and cover some Kutesa or whichever minister it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they would come back with their stories, and tomorrow morning I would read them. And I'll go, yeah, it's okay. Then the guys who covered accidents and things like that. But then I felt...
there was a sports guy, of course.
Yeah, there was a sports guy. But then I felt that I found them reading more of society
than they had no
than the hard-nosed stuff. Because, and in fact, there was a small element of jealousy in the media houses, because we guys had the funky stuff. Nice locations. Every evening, you're going to a party in the Sheraton, you're here.
And in those parties, in fact, that's when you met the news-making, hard-nosed executives and politicians,
yes.
But this time with their hair let down.
Yes, with their hair let down. And you find, like, for example, people like, let's say, Sadia Ruparelia or Godan Wavamuno, we all saw them as business people, tycoons. They go to work,
And to get an interview with them as a business reporter would require to go through the layers of protocol and bureaucracy to get them.
And you see, we never interviewed them from a business perspective. So it was the other side that you don't see of
The
this.
human side.
Yeah, the human side, yeah.
You came back from England, not because you had gone on your own to hustle, but you were with family there. Your father was, a distinguished gentleman in his own right, and you'll be telling us more about him. But from my research about you, your dad was a top executive in the Central Bank of Uganda. Am I right?
Correct.
And so your family, born, raised in the UK, studied there. What compelled you to come back home? Usually, guys like you prefer to stay there.
I tore my ligaments. I was playing rugby, I tore my ligaments.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, let me just go and chill in Uganda for a while. And also, it did quite...
Usually when we tear our ligaments here, we want to go to the UK.
No, I came back.
Mm-hmm.
So I chilled for under 3 months. Then I met John Agenda, the late John Agenda. And John Agenda told me, okay, you want to write? I'll call William.
That's William Pike.
Yes, I don't know who William was.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember he picked up the phone in his house and he said, William, I'm sending you my nephew. Please find him a job. I was like, oh.
My uncle is big.
Was that easy? And then so I went to see William. And William had asked me, okay, what do you want to do? And I said, I'll be going through the newspapers, and what I don't see is a guide to restaurants, where to go and eat, how much will it cost, how much is food, things like that. And that was my first column. There's about
A few inches long.
yeah, but still, I was in newspapers.
That was your first step in there.
And that was my stepping stone into other things.
But the restaurant and eating culture, other than we're talking about what? The mid-90s?
Yeah. No, about the late 90s.
Late 90s.
Yeah.
The culture here was not the kind that, people have to read newspapers to choose which restaurant to go to. They knew by word of mouth.
No.
Go to Nalongo's in Katwe for...
Because...
Well, that's what we thought.
No, I was writing about fine cuisine. Because fine cuisine had now begun to break into Uganda. You had these nice mambo points. You had specialized places.
Fang had also opened shop.
Yeah. You had Curry Thai. There were these restaurants coming up, and nobody knew Curry Thai is Thai food. What is Thai food? Okay, Thai food is a cross between, I think, Chinese, Japanese, Korean. But people didn't know what it was.
Then later we're told of Mongolian, where you
It was Mongolian, yes. Uganda began to change so fast. So many things were coming into Uganda that people were caught unaware. Yeah, you had DSTV, you had all these things.
And then, of course, the revolutionization of communication, where rather than drive to a village, now you could pick up the phone and talk to someone. We'll take a short break, but when we return, we'll have to go back to that column and what it meant for you at the time.
Everyone has a life story to tell, but an incredible life story is shared and told differently.
You get into journalism by accident, revolutionized the way the newspapers portrayed society. But beyond just the restaurant review, I at least remember a very formidable, groundbreaking story that you did, where you immersed yourself in a situation. You may want to take us through that.
I presume you're on about going on the streets.
Yes.
Well, Simon, I lived for 7 days on the streets of Kampala. When I say I lived on the streets of Kampala, I mean there's no going home. What I was wearing was what I had.
For 7 days.
7 days.
What had you left with from home in terms of money or anything?
I had 10K.
10,000 Ugandan.
10,000, a notebook, and a pen. Nothing else.
Did you have a phone on you?
No.
And even then, phones then didn't have cameras.
Yeah, didn't have cameras.
This was which year?
Oh.
98, 99?
It was before 2000.
Yes.
Yeah, or thereabouts. No, about 98, I think.
Yes, 1998.
Yeah. And
what was your motivation to do that? You just thought of that idea, macabre as it sounds?
No, it was just a story to figure out. Here I am, I've come from a background which is privileged. I've had everything that I could possibly want. What would happen if suddenly the rug is pulled away from me and there's no mommy, there's no father, the house is gone, and suddenly you're out on the streets.
Alone.
How do you survive? It was very taxing. It was very difficult. It was a nightmare.
Take us, at least for a moment, take us blow by blow. So you leave your house, and I presume it was somewhere in the leafy, affluent areas of Muyenga.
Yes.
With 10,000 in your pocket. And you hit Kampala, the city, to stay for 7 days. Where was your first stop?
The car from the Daily Monitor picked me up. And they dropped me near the old taxi park, where the Barclays Bank is.
Wow.
So they dropped me there, and off they went.
Oh, the one by the park, around Platinum House.
Yes.
Wow.
So I stood there wondering what to do, because every time I've been to town, it's been for a purpose. I have a purpose. This time I had no purpose. So I sat there. People went home. I walked around the park. Then it got dark. The park began to clear. And I was terrified, to be honest. So I thought the best place to go on day one is All Saints Church. There was some prayers going on. So I sat outside. The prayers finished. We went home. And a guy comes up to me and says, and you, what are you doing here? I told the guy, I have nowhere to sleep. Go, you can't sleep here.
You can't sleep here?
No. He threw me out. I walked back to town, and I said, go to any near government institution. So I go towards Bank of Uganda. Bank of Uganda, of course, they say, dude, no. So I go across the road to, is it Uganda Investment
Authority? Yeah, it used to be there, that
Yeah.
building that has
Yeah.
now other facilities
Yeah.
on board, yes.
And I sat there. But then as the night wore on, I found out that each shop doorway has a person to it.
Uh-huh.
It's their house.
If someone's aboard.
If someone's aboard. So while I was sitting over there, contemplating, have I done the right thing? Fang used to be in Cairo, I think Cairo Bank Tower, Ugandan Bank Towers was upstairs. And I saw all these diners coming back down to go home. Bellies are now full and ABCD. And I was envious. I didn't eat them. But I said, oh, they've been having a very nice time. So the first night was just walking around. And then until I found my feet, I found a place near, I think, Curry Pot, if I can recall, near the Shell on Kampala Road. That's where I found a place I could call my own. The funny thing was, in the morning when I woke up, everybody had gone.
Scattered.
They weren't there. Where they went, I have no idea. But they would come back every evening. But in the morning, same people.
And they left just before you would wake up.
They had kids, some of them had children, whatever. They would go. I never found them. But the thing is, Simon, is how do you spend your day? The day was, I would walk sometimes to Nakawa. Then get to Nakawa and then stop. And I go, where am I going? Stop, turn around, come back, walk to Wandigere. Sometimes go to Sheraton Gardens, sleep there. I had so much time with nothing to do. And it became very frustrating.
And that birthed your first feature story.
Yes.
On what it feels like.
It ran for a week. And when it came out,
just remind us, because this is not a story you can easily find online. Remember the time you did your
It was called Life on the Streets.
Life on the Streets of Kampala, yes.
And when it came out, Simon, I was caught off guard. Because I just thought it's going to be just another story. But they gave me 7 days, sometimes 2 pages, which was like, wow. But the after effect was just incredible.
Wow.
Radio interviews, this and that.
What? You went viral.
Yeah.
In the circumstances.
Yes, and I was like, but I just did it's something simple. But everybody else saw it as something which was out of this.
Of this world.
Yes.
You showed the underbelly of an otherwise busy and bustling metropolis that we know as Kampala, but then you showed it in its glare from a personal experience.
Yeah.
And then that began your journey.
My journey, yes.
Into doing the stories that people will always either miss or gloss over or just simply ignore for the rugged.
True.
At the Bank of Uganda, did anyone there at Bank of Uganda realize that you are the son of a deputy governor of the Bank of Uganda at some point?
I'm not sure.
If only they knew, they possibly would have made you sleep in the vault.
Exactly. I'd have been very happy.
And before Timothy goes back to tell us his, origins and the genesis of his life, he also birthed something that has also revolutionized the way we look at television. So that was in the newspapers. And then a year or two later after that groundbreaking story, a new TV station is opened up in town. It takes the airwaves by storm. That's a TV station called WBS TV, where I was privileged to find Timothy in December of 1999 when I began this business of interviewing people. And while there, Timothy, you also revolutionized the way we looked at TV, because we knew TV as a station that opens up at 6 o'clock with color bars, then there's an anthem sung at midnight, and it shuts down. But what is programming? Kids programming, sports, and of course hard-nosed news, and maybe a bit of a talk show here and there. And then you birthed Showtime magazine. And like its name, it was real Showtime.
It was.
You want to take us down that route?
Again, going back to when MTN came to Uganda, UTV, when I saw TV in Uganda, UTV was dead. UTV had died long ago.
Be guided that you are currently being broadcast on UBC, the rebirthed UTV. The head of programming didn't see this coming, so let's proceed. You are being candid.
Yes.
Anyway, I would.
It needed more than a blood infusion. It needed new kidneys, everything.
A liver transplant.
and with all due respect to the people who'd been at UTV, if I was to have been in charge, I think about 80% of the people there would have gone because they were not part of this new revolution. They were beyond it. They were stuck in there.
Irredeemably unable to
Yes.
participate.
Yes. WBS was, I think, the first private TV.
Well, there have been others like CTV and others,
But
but
which
one which was
ones?
really local
Yeah.
and gave local programming
Yeah.
and gave opportunity for local content to be aired.
So WBS was exciting. Number one, I'd never been to a TV studio in my life.
Wow.
I'd never been inside a TV studio. I'd never been interviewed on a TV at all. All I knew about TV is remote control, flick
And the
here,
box that you're watching.
yes, and that's it. Elvis Asachanzi says, we're doing this show called Chota Magazine.
Where did you find all this?
Just
Upset, I
kidding.
believe. Oh,
One of the two.
one of the two.
Yeah.
You must have suddenly been in
Yeah.
a bar.
There's no, this TV show we're doing. Come and have a look at it. So I go there, and yes, it has potential, but it's too raw. It needs sort of panel beating and whatever.
And of course, you had watched better in the UK.
Yes. So I told Elvis, like, you know what, it can work, but and he said, no, what you do, come here for a week, just give them some guidance, and we'll take it from there. And I stayed there for a week. I gave them some guidance, but still they weren't grasping where I wanted to take this show. So I told Elvis, can't work because your cameraman is too rigid. He's an old school boy. Producers, yeah.
Unilaterally.
You need to get rid of everybody, get new blood. He says, okay, fine. I'll get rid of them, you bring the new blood. But if things go wrong, it's your head on the block.
Wow.
Oh, okay, cool. So I found the people who I thought I could work with
Within the team that was there already.
within the team. One was Tilly Mwonge, who became the face of the show.
Without a doubt. Tilly remains
Yeah.
written in the Hall of Fame.
And there was a cameraman called Christopher Eritu,
I remember him.
who
Chris.
kind of began to speak my language. And there was pressure on me to bring up this show. Because by now, within WBS, I was seen as Satan, because I'd had people fired.
You had rubber-roused the whole place,
Yeah.
turned it around.
So therefore, my first show had to be something big and huge. And fingers crossed, I did pull off a very good show.
What was featured on that very first show, if you remember?
We went rafting,
Wow.
whitewater rafting. And in those days, nobody, rafting?
Rafting, what's this?
Who would go and film rafting? For what? And then suddenly it was like, it was hype. The music was fast, rock music. It was a new blend. It was like something out of...
And the camera angles were different. They're not
Yeah,
the static box camera
exactly.
angles like we have here on this
Yeah.
program.
Yeah. I told Chris, when you're filming, don't bring your stands.
No tripod.
No tripods, nothing. Just come with your camera. And I went rafting, and even the music we picked, it was thumping, rock hard, and engaging music. That I'm sure, that show, if I put it onto Mnet or something, I would have passed.
See, he still speaks of Mnet. We are way past the edge of Mnet.
yeah.
Now we are watching something totally different.
Nobody knows what Mnet is, do they?
These millennials, these Gen Zs, certainly Mnet is not one of the things they know. Many of them would struggle to even remember something called Channel O, but here we are.
Yeah, Channel, yes.
And so, Showtime magazine became that program that then started to liberate us from
Yeah.
what we knew
Yeah.
as TV programming. And that made you proud. You were at every party. You went even to parties that we had never known about. And I'm sure it's shows like yours that also gave people certain weird and eccentric ideas of starting up stuff like goat races and boat cruises, and got corporates and corporations to start fixing and mixing their brands with nice entertainment, but also seriously product driven.
The new brand of corporate who came in after MTN, they were young and energetic. They grasped the essence, like, you know what? We can market and sell our products, not just by going door to door or from bar to bar, whatever it is they
used to do,
selling. But this show is powerful. It will reach places we can't reach.
Absolutely.
So yes, every single function that happened in Kampala, Uganda,
You were there.
we had to be there. Every big society wedding, because in those days, nobody would invite you to go and cover, let's say,
Their wedding.
Baba's daughter's wedding. For what? But we were invited. We invited that wedding, that function, that's whatever it was. And so like, it became very powerful and people began to see there is value in this kind of shows.
So that's why then one wouldn't be wrong to say you revolutionized the way we look and consume our media today in an era where internet proliferation was really not anything to talk about. Mobile phone proliferation was the stuff that you did almost as a staple on Showtime magazine, going from town to town as MTN launched their networks in progressive manner from the center in Kampala up to when they arrived in Moroto and the other places that are the farthest corners of this country.
Now you see, Simon has given me accolades. To which, Simon, I'm very humble and I say thank you.
Well, you earned it, without a doubt. Let's take another break. When we return, Timothy, then now we go to your life story. When were you born? Where were you born? To whom were you born? Your childhood. And perhaps then we'll understand the foundation of what makes you the kind of guy that you are today. Like the old Nokia advert of the 1990s into the 2000s would say, fun outside, serious inside. You remember that tagline? There was a big billboard around the place you used to live on each mansions in town. See, I keep my memory right.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Everyone has a life story to tell, but an incredible life story is shared and told differently.
Today, I think we have too many creatives that everything is mixed up in a pot.
Though very enough.
They got you doing things that you would otherwise never do.
Yeah.
I mean, look at me. As a young man growing up, I read this tagline that gave me the feel that I should stand out of the crowd. And so it said, you can tell who drinks better.
Yeah.
Since then,
Great night, good morning.
good morning.
Good morning.
Now, who wouldn't want that? So Timothy, tell us, just who are you? Anyway.
Timothy Bukumunhe is Timothy Bukumunhe. 4 sisters, Julie, Linda, Helen, Brenda.
Are you the first of those siblings?
Second.
Your parents being?
Perez Bukumunhe, he's a banker. My mother, Jennifer, she's a nurse, or was a nurse.
Or was a nurse?
Yes.
Is Mr. Bukumunhe still a banker or is he also a retired banker?
He's a retired banker.
Or is a banker, or is a banker.
Yeah.
Or once a banker, or is a banker,
Yeah.
as they say. So take us down to your childhood, the best of your recollection. Were you born here or in the UK?
I was born in England.
Your parents worked in England at the time?
There were students at the time in Leeds. Yeah. My dad was at university there. My mother was at nursing college.
That's very courageous of your dad to start up a family while he's a university student.
That's what I thought as well. I thought, those things.
Exactly.
Anyway, then we lived in the Ivory Coast.
How long were you in England before you moved to Ivory Coast?
Ivory Coast moved there in the 60s, late 60s or somewhere like that.
So you came in as a young boy within your single-digit years.
Yeah.
But if you go back to the England you were born in, Leeds, in the best of your recollection, how much of your childhood do you remember? Especially at the time when you were born, when folks like you with our kind of
I think I remember going to school like, I remember once being walked to go to school. And then once snow fights and things like that. That's about the most I can recall.
You don't remember any of your classmates looking at your skin and wondering how come you?
No, actually, in fact, throughout my entire time in England, there's only one time when I went to Scotland, a place called Strathclyde, which is at the end of, it's like going to Arua, and then it's the end of Uganda. And it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's a small village, and it had one policeman, one shop, which was the post office as well. It had one bar, which also was a hotel. It was one of everything. And I was only a black person there for, I think, 6 days or so. And word went around the whole town that there's a black person in town. And they all came. I was like having lunch, and all around me, people were sitting there talking, but everybody was looking at me, just looking. Some would come and just...
That's just...
Yeah. But they weren't racist.
Mm-hmm. They were just curious onlookers.
They had just never... Okay, they'd seen on TV, I presume, but they'd never seen
an
actual
guy.
Yeah, but I never had any racial issues in England.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so from there we lived in the Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast is Anglophone, is a Francophone predominantly, so you speak French.
No, I don't, because I went to...
A British school?
No, I went to school next door in Ghana.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And that's where I was, because my dad was working for the African Development Bank. Mm-hmm. So we went to school in Ghana.
So you're commuting between Abidjan and Accra?
Just for holidays.
Ah, okay.
Nairobi.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No big deal about it. And then from there, we're Kenya. Then after Kenya, back to the UK.
All this while, did you ever have a glimpse at speaking your local dialect, language? If you have ever done even now.
I can speak it.
Mm-hmm.
I speak more Luganda than I speak Lusoga.
Mm-hmm.
I find Luganda is a much softer, rounder language.
That's because maybe you've had a lot more exposure in that area. So TB, as you're growing up a young man, you know, with a banker for a dad, a nurse for a mom, what in your mind was it that you wanted to end up being? Did you have a clue?
Of course not.
Mm-hmm. You just whirled through.
Okay, of course not. But then I wanted to be a bus driver.
A bus driver.
Only because I can't remember the guy's name. I think it was called Ian. Ian, my bus driver at school. His arms were huge. When he turned the steering wheel, and in those days there was no power steering,
Absolutely.
so he had to really grab the thing, and his muscles were.
So never mind the training in the UK, the working at the African Development Bank, and all these other exposures your parents had, they still never spared the road.
Oh, of course. I mean, an African parent, no matter where you are, in the White House, you get the road.
Exactly.
If you're in Downing Street, you get the road. African parents are African parents, period.
Wow.
Yeah,
of that generation,
of that generation, yeah. Because they believed that to discipline a child, only one thing could make the mingling stick, the slipper, the whatever.
And usually the slipper is more effective because that could be sent by Bluetooth.
Exactly.
And so when that happened to you, did it change your orientation of career? Did it change your observation of life? Did it change your outlook to your future?
Not quite, because I just felt, I think I saw myself as a kind of guy who I'll just travel. I'll start here in Kampala. My first real job was in PR in the UK for a company called Olympia New York, which built the Canary Wharf project. Mm-hmm. That's why I worked until I came to Uganda.
So that quintessentially was a construction site that you
Yes.
Yeah. So you just walked in there and gave them your manual labor and all that.
Yes.
But you're a rugby player at the same time.
Yeah. Although I'm small, but I still was.
Ah, well, maybe what you lack
Yeah.
is physical size. You compensate in height since you're about 6 foot something.
Just like print media, I'd never done print media. I'd never done TV.
And you've never been to
Never been to a radio station. And William, I met William at a party. And
who had been a perennial host for that
Yeah.
program from the
Yeah.
time it started, yes.
and I asked him, when you go on a holiday, what happens to the show? He says, it repeats. And then I said, can I host it? He says, do you know anything about radio? I said, nothing at all. Then he says, okay, tomorrow I'm recording. Come to the studio and see how it's done. So I go there and I see how it's done. And I think, yeah, I can handle this. Now I had to find the guests. I didn't know who I could get. And my first guest was Waswa Birigwa, ambassador.
Who you must have met at a party.
At a party. But then Waswa Birigwa was into politics. So by then, things like NRM, I didn't quite know exactly what the doctrine was. There are many things about politics in Uganda that I didn't know.
Absolutely.
So I told him, Waswa, please bear with me. There's some questions or there's some things that I don't know, especially when it comes to NRM or DP or whatever it is. I have no idea. He says, don't worry, I'll guide you along. And I was thinking to myself, excuse me, it's my show, not your show. Anyway,
That's a Rocky for you, as he prefers to call himself.
We got through it. I did 4 more shows. William came back. He asked for the tapes. He went through them, came back to me and says, if you want the show, it's yours.
Wow. He was that tired of the show.
And the show was good. I enjoyed it at Alendis. Gilbert Bukumunhe, when he was still vice president, was one of my guests. And on the show, you had to pick 6 songs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Gilbert sang his songs.
He didn't say, play them for me.
He sang.
That was a masterstroke of interviewing genius.
And all his songs were Christian-based songs. And they all had to do something to do with his mother, because his mother came from a very impoverished background. She used to sell, I think, local brew or something to
take him through school,
to get school fees.
He was very fond of his mother, Gil.
So each song had this deep bond with his mother.
So here you are. It must have been a confusing oxymoron for you. The one, and you're providing folks that have distinguished themselves, and you're building them by allowing them share their incredible life stories. On the other hand, you're running a very sometimes debilitating column called Have You Heard, that for the most part shed a little bit of dust and everything wrong on the achievements of many people by showing who they are, especially after dark. How are you able to compromise between the two kind of engagements?
No, I think the upper echelons of society, it's when you're with them, you have to be like a chameleon. If I went to a function, for example, and I found, let's say, Upland Sibambi or Alika, whatever it was, I had to adapt into their way of thinking, the way they dress, the way they speak, what they're saying. Had to be like that. If you weren't like that, you'd be thrown out straight away.
They wouldn't associate with you. So you need to be as sophisticated as
Exactly.
Which sophistication you had, though, but, not many.
Not had, have.
Oh, okay. You'll pardon me. Well, the only thing why I used had is that there is a new sophistication, especially by the Gen Zs, that makes us look like guys in the Jurassic Park.
Now, the younger ones, for them, they saw like Showtime or Society or Have You Heard as their chance of becoming famous, being in a newspaper. So if, for example, you went to a party and your picture was taken and you appeared in the newspaper, you were a star.
Absolutely.
Your father, your mother, your grandfather had never been in a newspaper, but here you are, you're barely 19, and you're in the paper, and there's an article about you. They mentioned you by both names. You will say, I've arrived.
Absolutely.
I've arrived.
Wow, that's very powerful, in fact. That means it's also not true that you read lives, you actually built many lives.
And that's the thing about the media. The media, Simon, as you well know, is that we can make you.
And destroy you
And
to size us.
We can break you down to nothing. But it depends on that media person and how they use that power. Because once you have that power in your hand, yes, you know, tomorrow I'll build you. Friday, I'm going to bring you down. But if you abuse the power, like our friends on the other side abuse the power, what happened to them? That power.
The rating is always on the wall.
Yeah.
But let's take a short break. When we return, our final conversation, and especially now, life as you're seeing it now.
Everyone has a life story to tell, but an incredible life story is shared and told differently.
So TB, you finally find love in all this scattered life where you're living out of your suitcase, traveling places as a journalist, breaking barriers as a communications person, but from the journalistic angle. How was that for you?
I think your life begins to change when you have children. Because before that, you see your life as me, myself, and I.
True.
So if I never had food in the house, I'm okay with that.
If you're down to your last 10K, like when you started for your 7 days,
I'm okay with that. There was no sense of responsibility. Once you have children coming to the world, then you have to, okay, there's somebody else apart from.
Snap out of your comfort zone.
Snap out of it. And parenting, everybody will give you a different story about parenting. Some will say, difficult. Some will say, it was plain sailing. For everybody, it's different. And no matter how you raise your children, there'll be somebody who will be telling you, Simon, when you're raising your children, that's not good. You're doing it all wrong. You're doing this, you should be doing that, you should be doing this, you should be doing that.
So TB, what's your favorite dish?
I'll go for pork.
Wow, you love your meat.
Okay, I love meat generally. Apart goat, I'm not really keen on, but give anything meaty, I will eat.
How would you love to wash it down? Should I even be asking that question?
It's a family show, so let's
keep it restricted to that.
Yes.
But it's certainly not juice or milk and anything in that genre.
Yes.
So TB, what gets you angry, if at all?
I have a list, Simon. I could be here until tomorrow morning, but let me give you a few. I don't like people who drag their feet. Walking is the simplest thing ever. Lift up, move forward, put it down. I don't like people who, when they walk, they have to hold on to something. One day at the New Vision, we parked our cars, a whole line of cars. And I looked at my car, and there were like 4 lines going through from the back to the front. I'm trying to figure out what's with that. And all the cars had them. Somebody came walking and just idly, Ugandans, they want to hold something, touch something.
But on the flip side, what gives you a very good hearty laugh?
A good hearty laugh is when somebody comes up with something that I find original, that it's not the normal run-of-the-mill jokes. I like something original, something different, not the usual things.
Well, TB has so many things that he can tell us about his life story, but one thing I know is that recently you have been into researching about the history of some of the things that appear to be so mundane, telling us why certain streets are named the way they are named, why, like, for example, these things that we wear, we call them spectacles or eyeglasses, why in our local dialect, across all languages, are referred to as Galubindi. And I remember very quickly the story you came up with is that when the first eye clinic opened up, I think somewhere in Mengo, the first native guy to go and get his eyes fixed and was given spectacles was called Rubindi. And so when he went back to his neighborhood, which is around Kansanga, Kabalagala, everybody was saying Amaso Galubindi. And so everyone who now got spectacles after that, they will always refer to the fact that, hey, you have also been given Rubindi's eyes, Amaso Galubindi, and all that. Now, these we found very incredible, generic and original stories. And Timothy has agreed to have a partnership with us on Incredible Life Stories with Simon Kasyate to share a bit of a snippet on the show every day when we do the show about something. And so you want to give us one now, but then later, of course, we'll be using them as texts running down as a graphic on the screen.
Okay, offhand, Kamocha. Kamocha is supposed to be derived from some chap or somebody went there. I can't remember. I'm still doing the research about it. Omsana Negumocha. So it became Kamocha.
Now, if you speak to a guy called Taga, and I will refer you, he's called Taga. He's an artist.
I think I know him.
Exactly. Now, Taga does say that one of the kings of Uganda, one of the executioners, I think on their way from Namugongo, coming back to the palace in Mengo, had a stopover under a tree in Kamocha, and it was scorching hot. Yes. And I think Mocha, and that very location now refers to as Kamocha. He also tells stories of how Makerere became called Makerere, how
about Nakulabye? I don't know, I like. Because Nakulabye is about one of the Kabakas, I can't remember who, had gone to do some manyangas. Then he came and stopped over in Nakulabye. When he was in Nakulabye, he looked across the valley and saw one of his birthdays with his mistress.
Wow.
So I sent a messenger to go and tell the guy, Nakulabi.
This became Nakulabi. I love that. Timothy, as we conclude the program, is there anything you fear? And I'm not talking about God, Allah, anything, anyone?
I'm scared of Timothy.
Which Timothy?
TV, me.
You?
Yeah.
You're scared of yourself?
Of course I am.
Also.
Because sometimes, Simon, I step out of my shell and they become two TBs.
So you get out of your body and look at your body.
Yes. And there's some things that TB does that make me shudder, and I wonder, what the heck is he doing? Has he gone mad? I scare myself.
So in that split of a second, you get a multiple personality kind of arrangement.
Yeah.
So in other words, you'd best describe yourself as a very impulsive person that does things for the spur of the moment and perhaps regret.
Yes.
Do you have an incident that, for example, scares you the most of the things that TB has done? And when you've come out of your shell, you're like, okay, I'm glad I have lived long enough to tell this story.
I've had some instances with the authorities, people in uniform.
An altercation that could have ended up, altercation that could have ended up with a bullet lodged.
Exactly. And somehow I've seemed to have survived all of them. And so when I get back into myself, I go, what the heck was I doing?
Timothy, as a writer, do you read?
I do.
What's your latest read?
I'm reading Manchester, by Jennifer Makumbi.
Oh.
Jennifer Makumbi.
So you actually get a blend of both local?
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of reading. In fact, I just finished reading the one by Elon Musk, his biography. Which is an incredible book. If you haven't read it, read it.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's no better place to stop a program like Incredible Life Stories than at a point where someone is talking about an incredible book, the kind of stuff that gave us the basis and raw material for the Incredible Life Stories that we share on the program. It's been a pleasure having you on the program, TV.
Thank you, Simon.
Catching up with you after a very long time.
I'm actually very happy that I've known you since WBS when you were a young kid, and from your journey from where you were then to now, I'm encouraged, very happy.
Wow, I'll keep that as a soundbite to share with my daughters all the time, so they realize once their dad was young, he's now mature and someone is proud of him.
Yes.
Let's meet same time, same place when we share yet another incredible story next week. And from us, it's a wrap.
Everyone has a life story to tell, but an incredible life story is shared and told differently.